Welcome to Rails, Ales, and Old Towns. Today's guest has spent decades exploring Europe, and he's made memories and friendships in nearly every corner of the continent. Mark Wolters, the man behind the hugely popular Wolters World YouTube channel, joins me today to share just a few of the stories he's collected over nearly 30 years of crisscrossing Europe. On the show, we talk about how Mark became a world traveler and a vlogger, what's changed in the Europe travel game over the years, both for better and for worse, and relives some stories from his travels, including but certainly not limited to adventures in backpacking, teaching, reveling, and riding the rails. Along the way, Mark dishes out plenty of his signature travel advice, the kind that only comes with experience, while we also indulge in a healthy dose of 90s and early 2000s Eurotrip nostalgia. All right, let's go to Europe.
Find the gap between the train and the platform.
All right, let's welcome to Rails, Ales, and Old Towns, Mark Wolters of Wolters World. If you've done any travel research on YouTube, there's a good chance you've come across some of his videos.
Thanks, Scott. Nice to be on. Thanks for having me, my friend.
And that is true.
Yeah, we have I think our main channel is like 3,000 videos, and we've got, I don't know, 3 or 4 other channels that have other things on there. So there's a good chance if you've been on YouTube the last 20 years, you might have scrolled past my chubby face giving honest travel advice.
And, you know, this is an audio podcast, folks, but behind him, he's got a gold YouTube plaque.
Yeah, you got to humble brag whenever you can, you know. It's like, oh, hey, look at that over there.
No big deal. The reason I really wanted to talk to you is because I had watched a video that you had done on York, and I was cycling past the exact spot where you filmed the video. Now every time I cycle past, I think of you.
I'm glad I can do something. I mean, that's one thing is whenever I film, I always want to film on location, because then it's like, look, I'm actually here. It isn't me talking about a place I've never been. I'm actually there. And sometimes it's not the best for the audio, but I always feel like it makes it much more realistic. I'm like, look, this is what you're going to see. And it's funny because like people be upset, like, why are you filming when it's sunny? I'm like, dude, I can't control the rain. Like, it's just the way it is.
Lighting's overrated, and you know.
Yeah. It was like, is it always sunny on your vacation? Because my vacations is like guaranteed it's going to rain at least, 4/5 of the time.
Since I brought it up right off the top, how did Wolters World come about?
Like Wolters World officially started in April 2009, but I was making videos back in 2007. And I was making videos for I was teaching in Portugal. So I was like making like summary videos for exams for my students and language videos. And my fiance at the time was my wife now. She was going to be moving to Portugal. So I was like trying to teach her some basic Portuguese and show her some stuff. So I was making videos in general. And then 2009, I started Wolters World, and it really was like, let's make some videos to like help people travel. And then we made a video like the 5 Love and Hates of going to like Germany. And that just like hit. And because I got so tired of all the like the blogs and the guidebooks that were just like all fluff and stuff. Like, oh, this is the greatest place ever. You're like, is it? Is it really? Like, don't get me, there's nice stuff everywhere, but I got really upset because I remember I had this guidebook I got in Italy, and it made this one town sound amazing. And I went to the town, and I'd show my friends whose families had lived in this like village, this town for like 500 years. They'd never gone to that village, which was relatively close by. So that should have been a red flag for me. But the book made it sound so awesome. I'm like, I gotta go. And my friend's like, oh, if it's good, we'll go this weekend too. And so I go, and like, the Palazzo is closed for renovation. The museum didn't have anything. The typical European market that will get you back in time. Yeah, it's a parking lot, Sunday through Friday. It's only Saturday morning. It's a market. And I was like, man, if someone read this book, they'd waste like 30, like a typical American, you got 10 days of vacation, right? You do one trip to Europe in your life, maybe. Some people, if they're lucky, maybe get a couple. But like, if you read this guidebook, you'd think like 3 of your 10 days you need to stay in this town. And I thought of my aunt who went to Europe once in her life. And if she would have read that book, she would have gone there, and then she would have the most disappointing time. I'm like, this isn't right. This isn't fair. So I was like, from that moment, it was like, I want to make honest travel advice videos, like the good and the bad. Because everybody will say good. Like you can always find the good in something. And when we talk about the bad, we don't do it in a mean way. Like we have all these don'ts of visiting places, and people are like, you're gonna say bad things. Like, no, I'm gonna say like, don't forget to do this, don't forget to eat that, but also don't do this because you're gonna get in trouble. So it's a nice like positive spin on some of these things. Because there's so much negativity and so much bad advice. It's like let's just focus on honest travel. And so we started doing that, and over the years we've got quite a big audience, and it's been fun to be able to help so many people over the years travel. Some people say, "Oh, you're a travel influencer." I'm like, no, we're travel educators. We educate people about the place so they feel more comfortable. So you watch our videos. Okay, I know the scams. I know what to do, not do. How do I not insult the locals? How do I blend in better? Like we give that kind of advice, so then you feel more comfortable there. It's like someplace like I always joke about Portugal, how they make you pay for the bread and butter. But like some people get really like it'll ruin their vacation because they had to pay for bread.
Oh,
But the fact they know about this before and they're like, oh, hey babe, don't eat that butter unless you want to pay for it. It's 50 cents a pile. And then they know, and then instead of it being like a negative, it's like a positive because they knew that little cultural thing. And so if we can help people do that, I mean that's what I love doing.
Yeah, you're greasing the wheels of smooth experiences.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the things we need to do because like we all think we're all against each other. No, we're not. Like that's one thing I love about travel is you start to see it's like, look, everybody's the same. We all want to eat good food. We all want to go hang out with our friends. We want to spend time with our family. Like that is international, and you start seeing that, you start to open up like, hey, you know what? Maybe we're not so different. Maybe we all can get along.
And when you say Wolters World, you're not joking. You go everywhere, but obviously this is a Europe travel podcast. How did your Europe travel experience begin?
My first time coming to Europe was when I went to be an exchange student in Finland in high school. And I lived there for a year, and I got to Finland and Sweden, and that was it because that's it was the 90s, so you didn't do a lot of traveling those things. So that was my first experience to Europe. And then when I was in college, I'd met with on my exchange program. I met a girl from Germany, was dating her, so I went to start like then when I went to college, I started visiting her like Christmas break, fall break, spring break, all that, and then did a summer in Austria. And then after I finished my degree, I went to Germany to do my master's. So I was there for like 2.5, 3 years in Germany. After I was in Germany, I came back to the US and worked for a bit. And then I went up going to teach in Lithuania. So I lived in Lithuania for 3.5 years, working there. And then from Lithuania, I went to Brazil. And then I went back to Portugal for 5 years. I did my PhD in Portugal. And then from there, then we moved back to the US. And now we spend, I don't know, 4 months out of the year, 5 months out of the year traveling, of which probably 4 months is like in Europe.
What inspired you to go for that Finland study abroad in high school?
So in high school, I met a girl from South Africa who was an exchange student in our school. And she's like, you should try this. I'm like, okay. And so I went for a summer in Australia. And I was like, that was really cool. I want to do it for a year. So I actually finished high school a year early and went to Finland for like the gap year thing and did that. And then it was crazy because like before I studied abroad, my idea was like, I'm going to be the mayor of my town and then the governor of Illinois, and then I'll be the president. And like when I came back, I'm like, the world's too big. The world's too big. I gotta go see the world. And so that really changed my whole perspective of what I wanted to do. And so it was great because it really got me like I wanted to meet people everywhere. And that's one thing I love about the travels. Like I go around, I just talk to people.
Yeah.
And if you're respectful, a few words, like people will open up and tell you all kinds of stuff. Like people are like, how do you get all this information? I'm like, I talk. I ask people. Like you'll be surprised what you can find out, what people will share if you're willing to ask and you're willing to listen.
So she was your gateway. Like
her name is Priscilla. Priscilla was my gateway drug to the world.
you learned it by watching her.
Yeah, because she was from South Africa. She had a great time in the U.S. and it's like she was an exchange student when the program my mom was a part of.
You know, what are some moments that really jump out from those early days?
When I think of some of the fun times, it's the people I met. When I did my master's, I had friends from Portugal, and I would go to Portugal and visit them. And I had friends from Bulgaria. We go and hang out, And then when I was in, living in Finland, my friends were I actually had mostly friends from Finland then.
What about any of those early destinations that really made an impact?
So I love Berlin. I like Berlin so much. When I went there the first time in like the 90s, I ended up doing my master's there. And it was such a cool city because I know it still has the clubs now, but the clubs in the 90s and early 2000s were a whole different level, just beyond what anything they do now. And so it was just cool. Like every weekend would be like Friday, Saturday night, we're out until the sun's up, and you go to like one party and then like you leave a party or a club and the sun would be coming up, but you go to another club before, and it was so weird. Like you'd be taking the S-Bahn someplace and people are going to work and you're like going, still clubbing. It was some good times. It was some good times.
Any mistakes you made early on that ended up coming back that you remember still?
I think not really focused on learning like when I went to Finland. This is the thing that I don't tell people now. When they go travel abroad or they go live abroad, like before I went to Finland, we had this big meeting for all the exchange students, and they're like, "Oh, everyone's gonna learn the language. Everyone's gonna have a great time, except for those going to Japan and Finland. You'll never learn it, so don't even try." And I was like 17, so I'm like, "Oh, these adults said I have no chance," and so therefore I didn't try. By the time I started to try, like after I'd been there for a few months, I'm like, I could have been fluent, and it was like one of those things. Like you don't put fake barriers up in front of people because people, like especially kids, they'll just assume that's the way it is. And I like that's why now I'm like when I talk to my students, "Are you gonna go abroad? Yeah, you better learn the language, have fun, do it because you'll learn so much more." So that's one thing I learned early on. Not knowing the language holds you back. And I'm not saying you have to be fluent. I'm just saying if you know some, it opens things up. Like when I moved to Finland, like I knew enough when I first got there. I learned. I mean, I had like a record to learn. There was no like learning Lithuanian. I had like a 1950s record that was like teaching you stuff. I learned enough to say like cheers and hi, and like people were like, "Oh my god, you know how to say cheers?" And they're like, I mean, I can't tell how many free.
Get him a drink.
Oh yeah, seriously. And then once I started actually, and then because when I got to Finland, or sorry, when I got to Lithuania, I remember that Finland thing because they said, "Oh, Lithuanian's really hard." Like because they have so many endings and all kinds of things. But I ended up learning it well enough that I was teaching night classes of business night classes in Lithuanian. So I got to the point it was good. But the thing was is I go to like the bar and I'd order like a beer, like, and the locals would know that I had it. They knew I wasn't from there because they could see, but also they could hear. And like, wait a minute. And so I like chat with them, like, holy crap, maybe like I was like a show off toy. Like, look at this guy. It's a foreigner that speaks some Lithuanian. And I mean, literally, if I went to the bar to get drinks, I mean, at least once on a Friday night, some local would be like, "Oh my God, take me to their friends." We'd have like a couple shots together. Then I go back to the dance floor. Like, I didn't buy drinks.
Hold on. Do it again. Do it again. Say what you said to him.
Exactly. And it's not like I'm saying like, "Hello, how are you?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's up, man? I like the basketball game. It's pretty cool." And it was just kind of funny. But that was one of those things I learned. Just that can make a huge difference. Like even just doing a little, because it shows so much respect. And the thing is, when you know the language, you start to understand the culture better because how people like talk and what they talk about is so different, like in their own language. So it's one of those cool kind of things.
At the very least, of course, the please, the thank you, the hi, excuse me. Now, you'd be surprised how much that excuse me comes with, especially when you're carrying luggage and you're on public.
Oh yeah.
transport.
Oh yeah, and that's why one of the ones anybody wherever you're gonna go, always learn like good day, because like you go into a store, you go like that hello good day when you walk in, they're like you're showing respect to the shop owner. Hey, I'm coming to your store. Thank you for letting me be in here. I'm trying to speak your language. Obviously, I don't because you can tell from my accent, but I tried, and that right there. I mean, anywhere in the world I've gone and I've done that, they're like, "Oh, come on!" And if they spoke some English, they'd switch right away. It's you showing respect to them, and it just goes a long way.
So if that kid that had studied over in Finland showed up today in Europe, what do you think? And you're gonna like this one. What do you think would shock him the most?
How easy it is to get everywhere in Europe. Because like back then in the 90s, like if you want, there was no Ryanair, there was no EasyJet, there was only like Lufthansa or Finnair, and it was like $1,000 to get anywhere. It was just insanely expensive. So you really had to do the Eurorail thing to get around because it's just so expensive to get anywhere.
And we are big fans of that here.
I still always tell people, it's like, look, if you want to go long distances, fly, but if you got anything under like 4 or 5 hours, just freaking take the train. Like you're gonna see a lot of stuff. You get time to kind of relax, especially if you're traveling. It's like sometimes you need that time to decompress. And having that 3-hour train ride where you're just like, hey, I'm on the train, looking out the window, kind of like I can look and see what I want to see. I can look at the map of the city. I can get ready for when I'm going to get there. Because you go to the airport, you never relax at the airport because you go, check in, security, find your gate, make sure your gate's still your gate, go and check in, make sure your gate is still your gate, then fly. And it's, the cheap flights aren't always super comfortable. So you don't really get the time to decompress. You always get more stressed out and then you're in another place. So if you take the train, it just makes life so much easier.
Did you ever do like a Eurail thing? Did you ever do like a dedicated 3 weeks to travel or 4 weeks?
Oh yeah, I've done that pretty much every summer since, except for 2020, oddly enough, but every summer since 1997.
So that'd be a yes.
That would be a yes. Yeah. So that like I've done it with my family. I've done it with my parents. I've done it with my brother. I've done it with my friends. I've done it by myself. It's one of those. I've done it. I've taken students. It's one of those things that it's just like, yeah, you just come on, let's do it. And it's funny because like the hardest one is when I'd have like group of like 25 students with me, and I'm like, we're taking the train from Barcelona to Granada, and we've got to switch someplace, and I'm like, please God, get them all off the train at the same time. So like going through, okay, look, this is our stop. Get your no, get your stuff together now. Like, oh wait, no, you understand? You can't like wait till we stop, and then because they'll be gone. And God forbid you're like in Germany, like you got to be at the door because the Germans are coming in that door right away. Like you got to fight your way out. So getting my students ready for like the transfer is always, it was always a fun one.
So yeah, you've definitely done your time on the rails. I know you've got to have a couple funny stories.
There's one my buddy and I were doing, and this is back in the day before like a lot of Central or Eastern Central Europe was in or European Union and Schengen. So like you had to have visas for all these different places. Like for the US, we were okay. But I remember one time we were coming through, and my buddy and I think we were going to Budapest, and it was Prague to Budapest, but it went through Slovakia. And this guy that was in our car with us from Argentina, and he thought didn't go through there. I'm like, no, dude, there's a country in between Slovakia. It's like, I got it for Hungary, I got it for Czech, I've got it for Austria, I don't have it for Slovakia. And so he's freaking out. We're stopped at the border. It's one of those things in the movies, like, like they never stop right by the sign that says Slovakia. No, a sign says Slovakia, like out the window. And the guy's like, oh crap. And they came and they're checking stuff, and they pulled him out. And like we see him off the train, and they're just lighting him up, like yelling at him. I'm like, the guy didn't know, man. Like, and they're just going off on him. And he came back and got his stuff. He's like, I have to go back to the stop before. So they're gonna wait with me here, send me back to the first stop, like in Austria or whatever, and then go that way. I'm like, oh man. Like after we left, we're like, we need to have a beer for this guy. But the restaurant car was closed, and the guy that was with the cart was like taking the stuff, like, how much for me? He's like, I can't sell it to you. And my buddy, he's like, it was like in the movie, it's like, I got $20. Let him give me a beer. He's like, I'll get you the whole case. Literally gave us a case of beer right there. He's like, just do me one thing. Don't throw away the bottles. I need the bottles back for the deposit. I'll get in trouble. I'm like, all right. So boom, we did that. But we just sat there and drank to our friend that disappeared. Back then, there was a lot more I don't know, it's like the cabin cars with like three facing each other.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, that's the first time I heard Swiss German, and I'm like, what are you speaking? They're like, oh, it's German. I'm like, that's not the German I know. They're like, oh, you're speaking Hochdeutsch. We speak Swiss German, which is different. And then, like, literally, we spent the next 3 hours. The guy was telling me the whole differences between Swiss German and High German and everything. I'm like, wow, cool. Or like, I mean, everywhere we went, I would meet people face this way. But then once the trains all got like the fast train, like we're all facing the same way. And that's another thing with society. People don't talk to each other. So it got harder to like get to meet people, But that's one thing I did like, was I always knew I'd get to chat with people. I remember one time I was taking the train in France, and I was sitting across from this old French, like she was in her 80s. This is probably late 90s, and she was in her 80s. So she lived through some stuff. Next to us were these two German girls, like they're like probably in their 20s. They were older than me. They're like in their mid 20s, like 20s at the time. And I'm like going through my book, my travel guide book in France, and the old lady looks at me, looks at them. She pulls my book, opens the Normandy chapter. It said, I'm from here. And she's like, thank you, merci. And she points at the two German girls, and she like didn't flick them off, but you could tell she was like not a happy camper by sitting by them. It was interesting to see some of those things out there that you're like, wow, I like. And that was because I was just sitting there saying, hey, bonjour, and things happen. People ask like, hey, what's one of the best things to do in Switzerland? I'm like, honestly, it's so expensive just taking the train through Switzerland and just looking out the window. Like, I'll be on the train in Switzerland, and I'll tell people, like, I don't even know, like, hey, put down your phone, man, and take a look. Especially if they're tourists. I know they're tourists. I'm like, yo, like, you have to look out the window. They're like, oh my God.
When you think back to the old school days, what do you miss about old school, and what do you like better now?
There is just a lot more a lot more people going around, which in one way I'm happy. Well, back in the day, you had to be rich to enjoy Europe. Like, and we're talking Europeans to enjoy Europe. Now anybody can enjoy. You can travel around, so everybody can get that enjoyment. That's why I get upset when cities are like trying to keep tourists away, but like, we only want the wealthy tourists. I'm like, oh, so poor people don't deserve to see nice things. Like, I get really upset with that, because I'm like, everybody deserves to see the beauty of the world, right? And I think that's one of the things I like about today is like people can go and see the world. one of the things that's bad about it, since we all can see the world, like people really are, so it does get really busy. The summer times, those school holidays, things do get. I understand when people get upset and they get their cities get overrun. It's like it's hard to handle. I mean, I live in a small town, and I know if there's like four cars that go by outside, we're like, hey, what's going on down the street, kind of stuff. One thing I do like now is I get to have like regional food all over countries, whereas like in the 90s and early 2000s, if I wanted to have that sweet mustard from Bavaria, I had to go to Bavaria to have it. If I wanted that smoked beer, I had to be in Bamberg, Germany. I couldn't get anywhere. And now like the good stuff is like, oh, you can get the good stuff anywhere. Whereas before it's like you only could get it there. And it's hard to explain to people like, no, if you wanted a Stroopwaffeln, from like the Dutch like little waffle thing, now you get it at the Aldi everywhere around the world. You had to be in the Netherlands and get it there. Otherwise you had no chance. And so that's one of those things. It's nice that you can experience some of these things in other places now. When I first got to Berlin, everyone's like, you're going to Berlin, have a currywurst for me. Like,
Yeah.
all it is a bratwurst cut up with curry ketchup, and curry ketchup's everywhere. I could like literally like Germans like, you cannot have it here because that is only in Berlin. All right.
No, I remember that myself too. Like when I showed up in Berlin for the first time, like reading in the Let's Go book, like you must eat a currywurst and you must do it immediately after arriving.
Yep, at the kiosk, at the station, right there.
And I remember thinking like, okay, this is decent. The words together sound so good, but it was just a bit underwhelming. And I'm sorry to anyone out there. I mean, I'm not saying I won't eat one. The hype I think the hype got a bit away from it on that one.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. I think that's one thing I don't like about travel now. There's the overhyping by influencers, and I know like I like to call myself, like I said, a travel educator, not influencer, but like over hyperbole of so many things when it comes to travel. Sometimes, like that's one of the things why we made our videos. I'm like, I'm tired of this over the top stuff. Let's just give honest stuff. Sadly, sponsors are usually not too happy with that because they're like, no, we want you to say it's the greatest thing ever. I'm like, but it's not.
Is this the best thing ever?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like anytime, I mean, there's food I love, like Bigoli Conarna. It's a special kind of pasta noodle from the Veneto region served with a duck ragu sauce. I love it. Like I said, it's one of my favorite things. It's the truth. Chocolate mousse from Portugal. One of the things I love more than anything. But the thing is like, if you see people that are like really hyping like 9 things about being amazing, like, yeah, I'd say like of the 9 things they say were amazing, probably 3 or 4 of them were amazing. The rest were fine. But yeah, hype it up because that's going to get the views.
The lack of crowds may be something old school you miss.
Yeah, because it was one of those things you could get into restaurants, you could get museums, and you could enjoy the museums and really get up close. I mean, and that's just the thing. It's like there's a lot more people in the world now. There's a lot more traveling in the world. I mean, I understand why it's there, but it's one of those things when people reminisce back to like visiting Europe back in the day. I mean, it really was. There was not a lot of people going around. So when it was funny because like when I was backpacking Europe in the summer, I would everyone kind of went to that because Let's Go. Yeah, everyone had like the Let's Go. There was the Let's Go crew that went this way, and then there was the Lonely Planet crew that went this way, and we all crossed over at Interlaken. In Munich and that little thing there, right? And so you knew if you're on that path, we're going to meet up again and again and again because there wasn't a lot of people. So you kind of hooked up. So you like hang out in Amsterdam and then you hang out like later on in Prague because eventually you're going to meet up together again. There was one time I was coming back and we were in Barcelona. We're going to Barcelona, switching trains from France. And there was like 4 of my fraternity brothers that were there. And they saw my brother who they knew. And so it was like this weird thing, like a reunion from the University of Illinois right there in the train station.
Oh, what's the name of that station where you have to switch? It's I should know it, but I've had that one. I've been dumped off that one after an overnighter from Paris before.
Yes, it's that one. It's that exact one you're talking about. That one. It's just like the little huddy kind of thing, and I'm like, really? And it's just like the entire train gets off there, and then you take like. It's like, oh, we have a cog train that'll go to the next station because we have different gauges. But I mean, because I had my friends in Portugal and I was living in Germany. So, I mean, again, before there were cheap flights, I would literally do the train all the way. I'd like, overnight train to Paris, overnight train to Barcelona. And then there was the overnight train that would then go to Lisbon back in the day. And so I would do that. And eventually I learned, I'm going to stop along the way. So I would do like alternate routes. That's how I found places like Bamberg and Regensburg in Germany. I found Salamanca and stuff. It's like, I need something else to do. I can't sit there because I remember, man, I remember one of the ones I took. It was like insane hot. You know, it's usually 3 people sitting across the 3 people. This was the Spanish trip, so it was 4 and 4. And I'm a husky fellow, but I was a lot huskier then. And I'm just like dying of the heat. Everybody's got all their stuff, and I'm like, oh my god. And I just remember getting to that station going, I still have another overnight tray. Oh, please.
But this is the magic about this, that it's always now when you look back, it makes you laugh. It's a story.
Oh, no, I think I was laughing then, and more like hysterically laughing, but still.
But like, you know, when you were describing about how, you know, people would meet in Interlaken and at the beer.
At Balmer's? I'm sure you were there.
Yeah, Balmer's, yeah. And like,
are they even around anymore? They probably.
Oh yeah. No, they're going strong. Yeah, I did an episode last year on Interlaken. We reminisced about, you know, we each had some good times in that bar there, and it's still going strong. Yeah,
nice. That was good.
But you know, I love that stuff. Like, I know some people would be like, oh, you know, it's stupid that you're seeing the same people, and I think that like that camaraderie among travelers is still one of the reasons I love traveling in Europe, because there's that camaraderie of like, oh my God, I can't believe we're here and we're doing this. And people are in this stage of their life where they know it's a magic time. And
exactly. And that's one thing I like now, because like, so I'm a college professor in my day job. So I have students that'll go study abroad. And I'm like, look, don't fly home the day after your exam. Stay for a few weeks. Like, I know because they got to come back for like interview or whatever, internships, whatever. Stay as long as you can, because you're never going to get this again. Because when you go to work, you don't get to take 4 weeks off to go backpack Europe or something. Like, so go and take that opportunity. And so when they come back, we just sit there and shoot the shit. Like, we'll sit and chat. Like, I'll have students that'll come back from study abroad. They'll come to my office hours, and we'll just talk about all their travels, all their stuff. I'm like, oh, did you go to this bar? Yeah, did you go there? And it's so fun, because I'll even love, like, we were in France, and I was with my parents. And I was taking them to Paris and Alcine and Lyon. We were going to a bunch of different places. When I got to Lyon, I was like, wait a minute, I've recognized these people, and I saw them. I'm like, I know them. And then we were like in a chapel. I'm like, so do you like this better than Saint-Chapelle? They're like, oh. And so we started chatting. They're like, cool. And then we see them give a non-C. So we're like, hey, we got to get a beer. It's like required. Like, we have to now.
Yeah, I love that stuff. And, you know, that's some of the feeling I'm always chasing out there. Like that, just that camaraderie. And people always ask you, where you been? Where are you going next? I think that was fun.
Yeah, and especially that's one thing, when I know where people are going to go and I'm going to be like, they've just been there and I'm going there, I always ask them. Like, that's what I understand when people are like, oh, I can look it up. I'm like, yeah, you can look it up. But the person that was literally just there yesterday might have some information for you. So that's why, like, when I say at hostels and stuff, especially because that's where there's a lot of transient stuff. Like, hey, where were you coming from? Where's a good place to stay? Or, hey, how is this? Like, is this museum really worth it? You know, kind of stuff. Or, hey, where's a good place? Where's a good bar to like meet other travelers? Like little things like that. Like those people know that.
Yeah, like I remember when I was once I was in the Cinque Terre, and I was in a dorm, just some stuffed dorm, 6 people. This wasn't a hostel classic. It was just someone's home, and they had turned like 2 bedrooms into 6-bed dorms. You know.
Oh, of course. As one should.
You know, this guy, he was just kind of sleeping on the up bunk, and we started talking. He's like, oh, where are you going next? I said, Chesky Krumlov. And he's just like, Chesky.
Wait, it'd be perfect. Was he laying there and not even looking at you? You just hear it coming from the bunk, bouncing back down? Dude, I can see that happening. It's just like,
but it was like in the way he said it. Oh, you're in for a good time.
Yeah, and you were in for a good time.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
Sorry for the interruption, but I just wanted to take a second to say thanks for listening to Rails, Ales, and Old Towns. I hope you're enjoying the show, and it's helping you get excited for your next European adventure. Be sure to check out the episode description, because that's where you'll find a link to the show notes and the show's social media info. There's also a link there where you can support the podcast by buying me a beer. I mean coffee, definitely a coffee. All joking aside, any support goes toward keeping the episodes flowing and the show growing. And last but not least, if you are enjoying what you're hearing and you have a spare minute, I'd be forever grateful if you were to leave a review on the platform you're listening on, as those little things really do go a long way. Back to the show.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
So speaking of good times, we've
yes.
got some rail moments. So you've got to have some moments in your career of traveling Europe involving ale.
Oddly enough, I do have a few events involving beer.
What are some of the ones you remember the most?
Let's see. I still remember the first time I went to Munich, you know, when you learn like the big moss and you like twist around your head kind of thing, you know, back in the day. Now I think I'd throw my shoulder out if I did that. Like I just threw my shoulder out, kind of mimicking it here.
Well, there's that moment when someone tells you you're not supposed to hold it by the handle, and then you feel like a sucker.
Yeah, you're like, oh, and then you're like, huh, and they're like, oh, woo, and you get it in there. Yeah, no, like there's a lot of German ones. Like I still remember, you know, it'd be funny. Like in German, it's like you drop a second beer, you always get kicked out. And so, like, I remember there was one place we were in Berlin, and I love Crystalweizen. Like, and they'll drop a little rice in the thing, it'll just make it bubble the whole time. And it's Weizen be the wheat beer, but it's like it's a clear one versus the darker one, not dark, but like the cloudy one. So you don't get it very often. So I'm like, oh, they have it. I got it. Literally, the lady when she gave it to me knocked it out of my hands. That counted as me dropping it. And then she brought another one and it broke, and it was no one's fault that time. It just like crappy table. She's like, "You're out of here." I'm like, "No, I literally had like no sips." So that was a very sad one. But I still remember a good one. Like the first time I went to Oktoberfest, went with a friend of mine, and we're sitting there, and we ended up sitting like because you know if you don't have seats reservation, you got to go in the morning. So we go in the morning, and her and I are sitting there, and we're in our early 20s. Like we're doing masters, so this is like maybe 22, 23. And sitting across with this couple, they were like in their 80s. And her and my friend and I, we both had these, you know, the liter beers, and the couple across just had their two little tiny beers. And they're like, "We've been coming here for 60 years. And they're like doing them. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." And it's one thing, he's like, "Yep, I always bring my lady to have a beer here." And then we go. And so we just sat there and talked. It was so cool. Like, to talk to these people, because we both spoke, my friend and I both spoke like enough German, we can have conversations with them. And then they had their little beer, and it was, I mean, it was just like 11 o'clock in the morning, because we got there like at 10 or whatever when it opened, and like by 11 they finished their beer and they went on their way, and then more people come, gets around bunch, we're drinking, and we're like, "Hey, the seats are reserved at this time, so you need to go." I'd had like 6 liters of beer. My friend, we get in line to do like the roller coaster thing, and there's these 2 Italians in front of us. And of course, we're all drunk and happy. "Yeah, this is great. We're having a great time." Yeah. And my friend's there. And then I can see her like watching the roller coaster loop around. And she's like, "You know what? I'm just going to wait here." And I'm like, "Well, you don't want to go?" She's like, "No, I don't think it's a good idea. You guys, she was hilarious. She's like, "But you guys go ahead.
Knock yourselves out."
Knock yourself out." So we go, and I'm like, halfway through, I'm like crying, I'm like, "I don't want to be here. This is horrible." The 2 Italian guys literally go straight for the garbage can that strategically is placed right at the exit, just start that. And I'm sitting there like, breathe and survive, breathe and survive. So that was the day I learned that you do not mix roller coasters with 6 liters of beer. Not a good idea.
I just feel like it goes part and parcel with the experience that you've gone out, sightseeing, and now you sit down, you have a drink or two, and you just celebrate being that lucky to be there.
Exactly. I mean, that's one of the things I'll actually do. Like, so I travel a lot with the family or with the wife, but then sometimes I just came back from 2 weeks in England, Netherlands, Belgium, France. I was doing a filming tour and seeing some friends. In the days I weren't with my friends, I would like film during the day, and I'm like, "Hey, you know, the museums are closed, it's getting dark out. I'm gonna go to the pub." I just sit at the pub, I'd have my drink, and I'd write my scripts. Like, that's my thing. I'll be like, write up my other things I want to put my scripts for my videos while I'm just having a beer or two, like have a snack. I'm like, "Oh, it's a good day."
This has been decades of exploration. What are some of your favorites? Like, if someone gave you a little magic pass that you could always go back to that one place whenever, what would that place be? And what are some of your other, as you would say, your favorites?
So like big city wise, it would probably be Paris. I just love going back there, even though it's super touristy, all the stuff there, but it's such a great city. I always have such a good time. We got tons of friends who live there. Like that's one place. Another place I always go back to is Vicenza, Italy, because I mean, I used to go to so many soccer matches for their team there that I was like an unofficial mascot. So when I go to Vicenza, people are like, "Grande Mark!"
And how'd that come about?
So I was living in Brazil, And I just, and at the end of my time in Brazil, I started backpacking South America, and I met an Italian guy, like literally, he's fishing for piranha, and I walk up to fish with the piranha. We're in the middle of nowhere, Brazil. And we just start chatting, and it just so happens that Italy and the U.S. were playing the World Cup the next day, and so the next day we're like floating down the river together, and there's like a jacare, like an alligator, and we're like floating towards it at the same time. We thought it was a joke, and then it goes snap. We're like, oh crap. And then they kind of like bonded from there. And so he's like, oh, you should come see me in Italy sometime. I'm like, okay. So a couple years later, I was doing my PhD, went over to see him. He's like, oh, you want to go to a soccer match? I'm like, sure. And he's like one of the ultra fans, like the crazy fans, you know? And so, oh, you should go. So I started going to these games. And it was funny because I was like, oh, we have our little like souvenir American tourist here. Like, but I'd go to games again and again and again. And then after a couple of years, I'd probably go to like 15 games. Then I went to Italy just to learn Italian. And so like I was there for like 5 weeks, and I took like an intensive course, but I went to all the games. But I had buddies of mine that were like, they went to the first game where I couldn't speak Italian, and they saw me again at the end of like the 5 weeks. And they're like, holy crap, you speak Italian? Like I'd learned it in that time to be able to talk it. So whenever we go, like I was back there last year when Joss, my wife, was there visiting our friends there. She went, we're going again with my sons. We're going to go to games as well. It's just one of those things like we have to do. We all have jerseys. Like we have signed jerseys from like the players and stuff. So it's one of those places like we always have to go back to.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So like you're constantly being just trotted out as a check this guy out.
Yeah. Yeah. But for me, like to go back and just chill, like my favorite place to go and just chill is Turku, Finland, because that's where I was an exchange student in Finland. And I mean, it's been wiped out by fire so many times. There's like the cathedral's still there, the castle's still there, but like for me, it's one of those places that you can go and chill. And so whenever I want to just have the time to like, hey, I just want to relax, like I'll go to Turku for like 4 or 5 days, stay at a hotel. What's cool is you can rent the sauna for yourself or your family. So like my hour sauna, I go to my favorite bar, I go to my favorite restaurant, I just chill, have my salmon soup in my little, and it just chill. Like that's my favorite chill place because like you can get to nature, you can do stuff. I really like that. That's another place I love.
Would you mind sharing that bar?
Yeah, the whiskey bar. It's right on the square in Turku. Like I go there, and it was great. That was the bar I went to when I lived there in the 90s, and it's a metal bar. So metal doesn't change. It's not like rock that changes from grunge. No, metal is metal, And so they'll have, it's almost the same jukebox, the same songs from 30 years ago, And I go, and every time I go the same thing. You ever see me there? I go in, they have the bar stools on the wall, like the little tables that come out. I'll be the very last one in the back, sitting there having my drink.
You ever seen a hockey game in Finland?
Oh yeah, hell yeah! When I lived there, we'd go all the time. Tepsi was my team, the Turku team, which is like because they were crazy about it. Like that's how I always could make friends. I'd be like, oh, Sweden sucks, especially in hockey, and they're like, oh, we love you. Yeah, dude, it was so much fun going to games. It's funny because like different countries you go to, different sports are big. So like Finland, it was all about that. Lithuania was all about basketball. Germany was about soccer. It's just like Portugal soccer as well. Basketball, like if you're going to Turkey, you're going to Serbia, Croatia, like down there, it's all about basketball. Yeah, they're good at soccer too. They like it too, but it's not like 90% is football and 10% is basketball. No, it's like sometimes some places it's higher.
So Turkey, one more destination?
One more destination in Europe that I'd always go back to. And this is one for the beers and rails. They're very nice. Bamberg, Germany. Bamberg, I got a soft spot there. Beautiful, beautiful old Rathaus town hall there. But for me, it's the smoked beer. You have the smoked beer. I still remember the first time I had the smoked beer. People were like, it's an acquired taste. I'm like, yeah. And I remember I was there and I was sipping it. And it was one of those times you're just meeting people, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, so you need to have this. They're local stuff. And I'm like, all right. And he's like, it's brewed right there, like across the street. I'm like, okay. So I'm like having a sip. I'm like, oh, ooh, can I get another one? Like literally the first time I thought it was horrible. By the time I finished that first one, I'm like, this is my favorite freaking beer. And even to this day, if I ever see the Henkler Rauchbier, like if I ever see that, it's a right, like you can get it, like again, now you can get it everywhere. But like, well, here, not all the time, but when I'll see it, I'm like, oh, I got to get that.
Acquired taste, and you acquired it quickly.
I acquired it quickly. And I was telling you, it's like pork rind beer, but in a good way. And so like you have that, it's great because like my mom and dad love going there, and so we always go because you have to have it for breakfast with your white sausage sweet mustard and pretzel, and you have to have it before 11 traditionally because they would use the intestines as the casing, so it would go bad. So you had to have it for breakfast. You don't want to go against the culture.
Yeah, this Bomberg, it comes up often on the show, with many an esteemed guest. And sadly, I've never made it, but it's on the list. I'm hoping to get there next autumn.
It's worth it, my friend.
You're not afraid of a hot take. Well, to end it, I'm gonna just throw a few quick, ones at you if you don't mind.
Hit me.
If you need a towel, it could get a bit steamy here.
Let's see. All right, let me stretch out a little bit here. Okay, let me get that. Crack my knuckles. All right, let's do it.
Do you like Google Maps or do you miss the paper maps?
So my wife is a mega fan of paper maps. Like even we drive, she's like, I want a paper map. I'm like, but the Google follows. But I mean, I use it to get around. But what I always say is like, I'll look because I have all those old Lonely Planet books. No cities haven't changed. So I'll look and have this in my mind. I have the map in my head, the old Lonely Planet map in my head, where the basic spots are. So that I'm not like looking at my phone every 5 seconds. Like that's one of the biggest giveaways that you're a tourist is like you're looking at your phone every 5 seconds everywhere you're like literally like following it everywhere you go. I'm like, look, just look over the map before you leave. So you have a rough idea. Ooh, the sun is that way. It's in the east. So and we're going to go towards the east. So if I'm going towards the sun, I'm going the right way. No, because if I'm a pickpocket and I see people just blindly looking at their phone, they are a prime target because they're not paying attention to themselves. They're only paying attention to that phone.
Yeah, I just love that ritual of when you would check into a hotel and then the desk, they would go through the map with you.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like this official I'm here moment. They'd be like, okay, here we go. And, and kudos if it was one of these like colorful ones with like 3D kind of buildings because there were different level qualities of those maps.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sometimes they were just, white and they had
dot.
nothing but ads on the sides. But, you get a good one. And then they'd circle this, circle that. This is a restaurant I like to go to. Here's a bar. And this was gold when they would.
Oh, yeah. And people don't do that now. They like, I want to check in online. I don't want to have to deal with someone. I'm like, no. And they don't automatically give you the map. Like, that's what the great thing about Europe. Like, they always have the map there. And I always say, it's like, wherever you go, I say, hey, and I'll ask, do you have a map? Could you mark some places for me? And I always play super dumb. Like, I don't know what to see here in Paris. What do you have? Like, well, the Eiffel Tower's here, the Louvre is here. What kind of music? Like Rodin. Here's the Rodin Museum here. Here's some nice. And you want to? And what do you like? You want to have the local? You got to here. Go this place and this place. Here's the number to call to get a reservation. Like, and you got it all right there. And that's the thing that's really cool.
And that map, then like it'll be like folded up. It'll get all messed up. Be in your back pocket for the duration of your stay. And
hell yeah.
it becomes your Bible in a way.
Oh yeah. I mean, dude, I'll go through some of my old stuff and I still have some of those folded up like 19 times. We had a guest over here who's going to Italy. I pulled out my National Geographic Italy book, but when I pulled it out, it had my Rome like city map from a few years ago. I'm like, oh, I forgot I even had that. Like, if you want it, man, I've got it all marked up with the good places and the restaurants. It's like, I think I'll be okay because he was really nervous. I'm like, all right, I'm telling you, this is gold.
A must-see that really isn't a must-see in Europe.
Brussels, mannequin piss. No reason to go. It's the size of your forearm. It's literally the size of a 2-year-old, and that's it. It is not worth it.
Mannequin piece, you're down on it. You say no.
Don't waste your time.
Okay. A city that you liked way more than expected.
Skopje, North Macedonia. Oh my God. Like people rip on that because they're like, oh, they have all these fake statues and stuff. I'm like, y'all fawn over Dubai. Like they made theirs look like it's, neoclassical. So it like actually looks pretty cool. I love it. And I was there and it was like 107 degrees and we had a great time there. Like Skopje, I was not expecting anything and just ended up loving it.
Did you make it over to that Lake Ohrid?
Yes, we did. And it was beautiful there.
Again, I've heard this lake just looks gorgeous and it's great. I haven't been.
It's okay. It's beautiful, but it's not like change your life. Okay, if you want a hot take, like it's cool. Like I was really happy I went. Really nice. You want a really prettier like water thing? Go to the coast of Albania. Like that's some freaking beautiful stuff. That's like Caribbean coastline in Europe.
Something worth splurging on in Europe.
Good pair of shoes. Good pair of shoes to walk around in. Like sometimes you think, oh, I'll just get a pair of shoes. You don't want to get a pair of shoes right before you go. You want to have a good broken in pair that are good with walking. You're going up to like 20,000, 30,000 a day. Like your feet aren't used to that. And so the aching feet thing is a huge thing. I know it's not like a splurge thing, but it's one of those things to really think about. Also, I would like, if you're going to splurge on like a good, like lunches, because you can get good food at a better price then, and you can get the real food. Because if you're going to eat Aldi and get food from grocery stores all the time, you can get it from home. So splurge on that food so you really get to see the culture. And
last but not least, what's the place that you somehow not managed to make it to, but you can't wait to visit one day in Europe?
There's only Moldova left, so I guess Moldova.
All right, I think we're gonna leave it there.
All right, cool, my friend.
Thanks for joining me on the show and for putting out all the great content. It really is a pleasure to have my algorithm feed you up to me on a constant loop.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, man. It's been great to meet you and talk to you, Scott. And hopefully we'll get to have some beers together one of these days. Some ales on the rails and some good old towns as well. So thanks, my friend.